What's going on, guys? Paul's here with a tutorial on how we can go about gibbing or splitting apart for, I guess, customizations or something, or clothing, or severed limbs and things. How can we do that kind of stuff on a mesh that is seamless, meaning no visible seams anywhere here, and still have it work and not have a whole bunch of seams everywhere, right? This is again handy, especially if you're going to like blow off the arms or the hands or the legs and stuff like that. We can segment this guy up and we can determine which pieces we're going to actually destroy off of his body without creating any kind of additional geometry or cuts in the lines or anything like that. And this is actually also useful if, say, you wanted to put like a t-shirt or something on the character, and the t-shirt may or may not have the exact same topology underneath it. Okay, it may have topology for wrinkles and stuff like that, and no matter what you do, you just cannot for the life of you stop the damn body from passing in and out of the shirt, right? And you don't want to use Apex for it. You want to just skin it because you want to keep it light and simple for mobile or something. So what you can do is you can hide the part of the body that the shirt is covering. In that case, even if it does pass through, you don't give a shit because, well, you don't see it. So I've created here a simple chart of how I plan to like bust up like a fairly simple character. Now I could add one more cut here at the elbow, but I just find that, man, that's a little too much. You could also cut it up here. I mean, to be honest, you could do all kinds of diagonal segments and shit if you wanted to. You could do it crazy. But in my case, I'm going to do it like this. And what we need to do here is we actually need to figure out basically how many of these guys are we going to have. Essentially, how many chunks do we have here? So basically, we have, I'm going to use my mouse for this. We have 1, okay, 2, 3, that's the worst 3 ever. I cannot draw with the mouse. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we have 12 here. 12 total pieces, including the head and everything like that. Okay, that being number 1. So when we think about that, what we're going to do here is I'm going to use one of my very old methods. I've actually tried a few things on this in attempts to maybe figure something out, and one of the things that I thought maybe I was onto, but I'm not, was doing this idea here, where we end up with actually an extra segment here that would be set to opacity off, and that drives, what this does is this tells the normals here that you're going in this direction based on the topology, and what we have over here is an arm that does the same thing in the opposite direction, so its normals are driven that way. So when we put the two together, you would think that the normals would be correct, but in essence it didn't actually work out. You can see quite clearly here that it just, the theory's not there. It may or may not need one more segment. It may or may not need weighted normals or something like that, or the normal map. But tangent normal maps actually are still kind of biased on the normals of the mesh in a way, so they're not the end-all solution in all cases. So this wouldn't work, and I thought maybe it would, but it won't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my old method, basically, of using the second UV channel for masking, and that's going to work pretty much perfectly. We will have to change the character's blend mode to masked. And so any overhead associated with that will come along with this. I'm telling you this before we even start. So if you can't handle that, well, there's your answer. Okay, so the skin weighting that I have here is beyond abysmal. It's absolutely not even supposed to be worked on. I didn't do anything to it. I just applied it. Okay. But what's actually going on here with the skin weights and stuff is actually pretty inconsequential, to be perfectly honest with you. So if I wanted to fix it, I could create, you know, a layer here for stuff, and you can see none of it's set up correctly. It's bending in the wrong axes. All kinds of things are just essentially broken on it. You can see it pulls way too much of the lats and things like that. So I don't care about that, but what I, you know, because obviously your character is going to be different, my characters are going to be different, so I'm using this base model from Mudbox. Now, one of the other things that's going to be a particular problem for, just because it's this model, is trying to get a clean cut at the neck here, because as you can see, it's really kind of got this horrible direction for the, they didn't clean it up to get it everything nice and segmented here. They did a, you know, a fairly intelligent job here to try to get, you know, the neck muscles and whatnot, but really even that's not correct, because they're curling it up to the fucking chin, excuse my French, but it's supposed to go up to the back of the ear. So, you know, this is an old topology, okay, but it is still a seamless topology that we can use. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create a chart, and the chart is going to basically be a breakdown of where we're going to place all of these chunks inside of a UV thing. Now we have 12 pieces and we have 4 channels for any given texture. Okay, you can always consider the red, the green, and the blue, and also an alpha channel if you wish. Now, since we have 12, which is divisible by 3, we can pretty much get away with RGB for just the 3 channels. But the kicker is that one texture can only have 3 channels. We have 12 channels that we need to create. So we need to create 4 textures. And the good news is that these textures can be as small as possible. It doesn't need to be anything. So what we can do is, since we have 3 channels, we can create basically 3 it'll be 4 rows of 3 columns, okay, if that makes any sense. So essentially it'll be kind of like, let's see here if I can't visualize this, but we'll have a piece, a piece, a piece, and that will be one texture. And then what we're going to do is basically just make dupes of that. Okay, but so what ends up happening is, when we look at the textures, we need to account for how we're going to set it up. So I'll just show you guys real quick. So remember, it's 3 by 4, so our width is 3 and our height is 4. Okay, and as you can see, it doesn't even look like we can see it, but we can zoom all the way up to it. And if we show, we're going to hit Control K here, and we're going to go to the guides, grids, and slices, and we're just going to say every 1 pixel and every 1 subdivision. Okay, so now you can see we have this tiny little chart, right? And essentially what we want to do is we want to blank it out just with black. Okay, I'm going to hit D here, and then we're going to create basically 4 layers, but the first layer we might as well do like this. So we're going to go to the red channel, we're going to hit our marquee select tool, and we're just going to pick this first box, and we're going to fill that with white. Then we're going to go to the green channel, we're going to move the box, and we're going to fill that with white or green, and then we go to the blue channel and we fill the last one. Okay, so when we look at the layer, you can see what it looks like, RGB right there. Everything else is black. Okay, now basically all we need to do is just copy this and move that one down, move that one down. Oh wait, hang on, I didn't need to copy it first, because I'm holding Alt. When I move it, that copies it automatically. That one got moved to the side, and then boom, like that. Okay, so when we show these layers, if we look at the channels, essentially, you'll see that the first layer has red, green, and blue all the way up on the top layer. When we show the next layer, you can see, well, if we kind of have to hide this layer here, and let's go ahead and make this black. Okay, so now we're just showing the next layer, and as you can see, we have RGB right on the very next layer, and so on down the line. Okay, doop doop, and then the last one obviously will be the same thing. So we can export these now as is. But remember, when you do export them, just show them one at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to say Control Shift S, and we're going to find a good spot for it. Okay, I got a folder called Split Tutorial. Now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to call this 3x4 mask, and I'll just call it like that. And I'm going to save it as a PSD. And the reason I'm doing that is because now when I go to save again, I'm still here. If I change the format from a new file, every time I go to save, it's going to be like at my users, my documents, my pictures bullshit. I hate that. So it's just save a PSD somewhere. Even if you're going to delete it afterwards, just save it in the folder you want to save the rest of your files in, and then after that you're good to go to make any format that you want. So this one's going to be TGA. Okay, we could go PNG, I think, but TGA is just fine. And we're going to call this mask 3x4 mask underscore 1. Okay, just like that, and hit save. 24 bits is fine. We don't have an alpha channel. Okay, and then we're gonna swap these, and we'll go TGA here, and we'll change that to 2, and I'm gonna do the rest off camera. Okay, I have them all saved, but now what I want to do is I want to create myself something I can use in 3D Studio, because number one, when I go for doing my unwrap, I can only show one map at a time, and number two, I don't think Max really shows these very small pixel type images very well. It's just going to show it as a blur, just like it's going to look like a nasty streak down here. It doesn't have the nearest style gen. Maybe you can set that in the preferences of Max or something like that, but as far as I know, it's a pain in the ass. So what we're going to do is, after I've already saved it, we're just going to change the image size, and we're going to go, we'll make sure we constrain proportions, and we'll say like 300 by 400. Okay, and we'll go Control 0, and you can see what we end up with here, right? So what we'll do is we'll hit Control K here real quick, and I'll go to the units and rulers, or no, sorry, guides and grids, and we're going to say every 100 pixels. Okay, and we actually don't really need any of this. See, this is what we would have seen in Max, so it's gonna be real hard to try to figure out where that is, you know. So what we do is just come here, and I'll just make a new layer. I don't actually need anything other than just kind of marking out a grid here. Like that. I mean, that's probably not the cleanest thing ever done. View. It was set to snap to grid. I don't know. Feels like it, well, I guess it is straight. Maybe it's because I wasn't at the right size. But essentially we need something like this. So we're going to save this, and this will be the 3x4 mask, just straight up. We'll call that HR for high res. So this is just for 3D Studio. There we go, boom. So in this case, we're going to move channel 1 to channel 2, which copies it, doesn't get rid of it on channel 1 or nothing. And this is going to be a little bit easier and cleaner for us, because we're guaranteed that we don't have any zero space triangles, just due to the fact that they laid this out for us already. So what we need now is to, let's see, can we didn't have a map on him, and let me show you a shitty thing about Max here real quick. It's actually kind of frustrating. I want to put this map on him, right? But now I want to show that here. Well, it doesn't come up. It doesn't like propagate down through like the stack. Even if you sometimes, even if you like come here and then come back, maybe this can refresh it every once in a while, but it's not there. So really what you got to do is just dump it, or collapse to. So we'll just pop that to 2. We'll say move, and we hit the unwrap editor here, and now you'll see the textures there, and we can show it here. So there's our chart for where we're going to be doing things, and again, it's on ID channel 2, so this will be what we're going to do to set up the masks for them. So number 1 is the head, right, which is officially taking too much with it, so we need to fix where this cut's going to be. And again, I'm just going to have to eat the fact that the geometry here is turtlicious, so, and that I can't really do anything to make it any better, to be honest. So I'm just gonna let it be what it is. So in your case, obviously your character should probably have a nice cut here, however you want the geometry to go. But I'm going to even highlight the fact that whoever made this sucks. Just kidding. Whoever made this did this a long time ago, was ahead of their time. No, they weren't. And all I need to do is basically just crunch this thing up into this general area. Okay? And now I can take this chest and include this. And did I say I was going to cut him in half? No, I'm not going to do a waist cut, but you know what, we could. But you know what, that's going to ruin the nice division here. We'll have a 13th. Let's not do that. Just because of that alone. So I think I want a little bit more of the legs. So let's do this real quick. And that was that one, so that, and then we'll ring that, and then we will select convert edge to polygon. And notice I actually got the damn ring. Watch what happens when you go here and you loop. You go select convert edge to polygon. You don't get shit, which you should have. Okay, so I want those. So I'm gonna hit Control. I middle click here to make sure this toolbox is active, and I hit Control D, and that actually just detaches it. Then I can grab these pieces, which I shouldn't have grabbed that one first. I should grab that one, then that one, because you cannot click to add things inside of this box. You cannot start dragging inside of this box because you move everything inside of this box. So if you need to pick something inside of this box, you need to come from outside of this box and then remove the thing that is before this box, right? Before it. Or you can change to this tool, at which point there is no box, and you can do whatever you want. Just a quick tip there. I actually had fun explaining that, because I like saying this box. Alright, so that's a good cut there. Was that number 2? You know what, because I really should stick with my damn chart. 1, 2. Okay, number 3 is his right arm. Okay, so I'm just going to keep with the numbering situation that I got going on here. So I just click somewhere over here, and then that, and that should be fine. So I'll take that and I'll just crunch that down into there. You do kind of want to make sure that it's fairly enclosed in there. You actually can do this. Okay, you can make it very small in there, even though we're having a 1 pixel mask. It doesn't make a difference really all that much. And then I believe the hand here, which goes with these fingers. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. That would be number 4, correct? Yeah, 4. Alright. Boom! This comes up here, so we just scale it in. You know, like I said, it can be very small, it doesn't really matter. Number 5 is, so we're going to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, maybe I can actually remember that without having to come back here. So 4, 5, 6, got it. So we've done 4, now we're going to do 5. In this case, because there's something else there, I'm just going to use this grow thing, and I'm pretty confident it's that. Okay. This would be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How did I skip a fucking number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I'm cutting at the knees. Okay, I forgot about that one. Alright, 7, 8, 9. I suck. Okay, so that's fine. You can actually do this right here. Watch. This is pretty cool. You can click on this so I can figure out which one of these it is, and then I can notice how I'm on this whole element thing, and if I click I get the whole thing, and I'm like, shit, I didn't want the whole thing. If you actually double click, it takes it. It actually goes back and takes it. So what I can do now is I can just like split that essentially, and then I could just hit it with a peel, and that'll cut it open. And then I can get rid of this guy and move this one in here. So that one's in there. So that's 7, 8, 9 is here, including all of that stuff. So let's just plus this up a little bit. Ah, shit. Boom. Take that. And that. Alright, here comes 8. About there. Where did I split that? You may want to do it lower. You may want to do it higher. I mean, wherever you want to do it, right? Yeah. Here's the thing, though. You cannot do this between segments, between loops. This method, it's not going to work right. Plus, I wouldn't think that you would want to anyway, because if you're going to do the gore that's actually in between here, like where the stump is left over, how are you going to get that to line up with some kind of other in between segments? You can't. You're going to want to weld it right here, or at least snap the points right there, right? So that it builds off the same spot. And then the cool thing is we can actually use the masking system that we're going to use to hide his body to unhide the gore. Alright, so we'll just we'll mark that as a seam. Go back here and we'll just peel it. That's just a cheap, fast way of doing that, I think. And then we'll get this minus that, minus that, and minus that. Okay, I've got. You'll notice here that I'm not actually seeing any of those that effect on here. That is actually because this is told to use map channel 1, but if we tell it to use map channel 2, you can see that we will actually get that division. It just happens to be, right, okay, you know, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black. So we get a couple that are, you know, still joined like right here, but it is still alternating perfectly, and now we have a system where all of our pieces can be masked the shit out using a second UV channel. And I really honestly feel like this is a good stopping point for the entire thing. Like, there you go, there's your answer. You now have a mask. But I don't feel anybody or everybody is going to know how to take it from here in UE4 and know how to do everything, because it is actually going to be a fairly complex material, not too bad. It's going to be systematically gaining in size. It's not going to be confusing or difficult. It's just going to be copy and paste a lot. And then the blueprint for the whole thing should be fairly simple too. I mean, it's just going to be like left arm on, left arm off, left hand on, left hand off. Now, the other consideration is that when you blow an arm off, you may or may not want an arm to go flying off. And you may or may not want the arm that goes flying off to still be ragdolled or whatever. Now, using this system, it's actually in a sense a tiered type of system. So if you were to do this, what you could do is you could have the entire guy here, right, as the main mesh. And he's got the second UVs. Then what you do is you export a version of the arm, the whole arm, including the hand, and you keep the same system. So that piece would also have the hand with the second UV channel over here split apart. Okay, and when they're both using the same materials and all that stuff in the engine, if you say, okay, left arm off, what'll happen is on him it will take the whole left arm and hide it, right? Now, that would leave the hand still on. So whether or not you want to code it to say, okay, well, anything, and it's like, if the left arm goes off, then its children go off as well, and you'd have to set up the children yourself. So if my thigh gets turned off on the main character, then absolutely so should the shin and the foot, otherwise that would be weird, right? So you may want to do that. Or you may want to have it so that you just say, okay, well, thigh goes off, shin goes off, foot goes off, and you decide. And maybe you do it from the back up, whether or not it was the foot only or the shin or whatever. But essentially what would happen is if you said, okay, we've cut off the arm and we've cut off the hand, what would happen is you would have a mesh, a full mesh, and all of this would be masked out, completely invisible. Okay, whether there should be a gore piece that covers the seam here that becomes visible. Okay. And then alongside that you would have an arm ragdoll mesh that would spawn, okay, and it would contain the hand on it, but it would also have the hand masked out. And after all of that you would have a hand mesh. assuming that you want to have the hand mesh. You may want to just, if the hand goes, you may want to just have a explosion of blood in particles or something, and just little bits of flesh and bone or something gross that you want to make up, like RoboCop or something, right? You may want to do something like that. You may not want a hand gib. And if in my personal opinion, if I were to do the whole arm, I would Muppet the frickin' hand, meaning I would give it a mitten, you know, just no fingers. I would simplify the shit out of it. And then a hand, I would make a mesh. I would make a static mesh. I wouldn't give it any bones whatsoever. I feel that that's too heavy for no reason. Same thing with the foot. The leg I would do, and again, the arm I would do, but I wouldn't do much in the terms of the bones and stuff like that. And you can just copy these pieces and break the arm off the top and move it to world 0, and then when you spawn it, you just align it to its root at the root of wherever the bone is. You just actually align them exactly in the same spot. So you say, okay, spawn this mesh in the exact location of my arm. Because it's using the same bone, it'll just appear there, and then you say, okay, give it an impulse, and then the arm goes flying off. And all you got to do is give it a physics asset. But the thing is what you don't want to do is just just copy the mesh here and cut the arm off and keep the whole skeleton in there too, because the ragdoll for this thing is going to be really bad. You can take all the other bones in a ragdoll besides like the arm here, and you can shut off all of their collisions and stuff. But the fact is that they still have mass, and you're still it's still just going to affect the way this thing moves. So if you're going to do the gib itself, just do the arm, just the 3 bone thing, 1, 2, 3, the root being the arm here, and just zero it out in world. Wherever it is right here, just take it and move it, and then export it, and keep it skinned. So you would make a copy, but like I said, you need to cut the skeleton. You got to get the rest of the skeleton out. Make the root, the arm bone itself be the root bone. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this part here because it's about a half an hour. This is how you set up the mesh for it. Again, we'll just look at the second UV channel here. And as you can see, I just have each piece of the mesh just out in this kind of pseudo/chart that I've set up here just based on the numbers that I've given them. Right? So I will know which ones are which. 1, 2, 3 is texture 1, 4, 5, 6 is texture 2, 7, 8, 9 is texture 3, and 10, 11, 12 uses texture 4. Okay, I did export the textures as very, very tiny little things. So if we look at the size of these things, you know, you can't get too much better than that. And if I take a look at it here, again, it's wee tiny, but if we look at the channels down on that bottom row, we're RGB. So hopefully this does make sense. I have shown this before. I showed it on the Jeep, I showed it on the M60, I showed it on the Army Recruit, and one other, maybe the helicopter. Maybe I showed that, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I use this all the time. I love it. It's one of the coolest things ever. And the fact that the engine sees multiple UV channels is a godsend. Use it, use it, use it, use it. Don't overuse anything that you get, including this, but I don't think that this is actually all that expensive. And in a system like this where we're just using it for masking, because our texture is actually going to be our actual final thing. We don't need to have like a high-res alpha mask or something like that. Like, the other method for using this would be like, oh, I want these shoes to be a completely different material, and I want to have like a material function plugged into these, and I want to use this mask right here, right? I'm going to turn this one on. So what would happen is it would just overwrite everything, and then it would take the whole material in there. But in our case, we would be using this as like a mask for the material, but we're not doing that. We're using this as a mask for the mask for the alpha channel, for the whole thing. So he'll get cut out clean as a whistle. So this is HipPaws signing off. Thanks for watching. I will come back in part 2 and set this all up in UE4 if you guys are interested. So I'll see you then.